party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me at your next event. I like to party with the people. Speaking of the people, I have some people coming on the show today. The Modern Society, the UK Modern Society will be here on the program. Yeah, so you have that to look forward to in the next few minutes. This week's shows, as I record this, this Friday night, I will be at the RAB in Conway, Arkansas. That's right, your favorite place to be in the whole wide world, the RAB in Conway, Arkansas. It's the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam at 8 p.m. is when it starts, and it ends at 1 in the morning. So plenty of fun time. They have a full bar. The kitchen is open, and the pool tournament has started back up. So if you want to make some money while you're hanging out on a Friday night, why not join the pool tournament? Yeah, it's so good to have my pool players back out there as we break out of this quarantine. It's been going good. I've had gigs there for the last 3 weeks, and I was at the Choctaw VFW one of those Saturdays. I know I'm due to be back there on July 11th. That's a Saturday night. So stay tuned for that. Come out to the Choctaw VFW on July 11th. But this Friday night, you get out to the RAB. You come out and play with us. Now, a lot of people, if you're scared of getting this novel COVID-19 coronavirus, I encourage you to stay home, for a while until we get a vaccine, till we get a cure. But for the rest of us, if you're feeling healthy, if you're feeling good, if you're feeling strong, come on out and play with us. I'll have some sanitizer sitting there on the table if you feel like using it. I am sanitizing my microphones a whole lot more often than usual. I mean, I usually wipe them down beforehand and after, but this time it's pretty much after every singer. And the dance floor will keep it kind of clear, because the stage is a little higher than the dance floor. So people that are singing up there, might throw some particles at you, and you could. It's good. I mean, that's good practice anyway to keep yourself clean. Maybe the germaphobes had it right. It's not just that the novel COVID-19 coronavirus is out there. There's still the cold is out there, and other diseases. There's still the flu, the regular flu. So, just because the coronavirus is out there doesn't mean that those things aren't out there as well. So keep yourself clean, wash your bodies, wash your hand. We'll have the sanitizer out there as well. So yeah, taking precautions, being vigilant. All right, party people, it's time to get into it with the Modern Society, the UK Modern Society. Let's get them on Zoom. Now, if you're just listening to the audio portion of this, I encourage you to check out the video version as well. It's on my YouTube page, Keys Dan's YouTube. I think the header says RadioWhat.com, so you can pretty much find it easily. So look up either RadioWhat.com or Keys Dan on YouTube, and I think you'll see it. You'll know what I mean. All these videos of all these podcasts. I think I'm getting a little bit better, So I'm getting the video versions as well. It used to be just a picture, a static picture of the podcasters, but now I'm having them zoom in and Skype in and using this technology. Old man using technology. Watch out. All right, let's get into it with these fellas from the UK Modern Society, the Modern Society, zooming the Modern Society now. This is Keys Dan with the What Makes You Famous podcast. And who do I have with me but the members of Modern Society, the UK Modern Society? Go ahead and give a sound off of who you are.
Connor, you can go first.
I'm Connor. I'm the bassist for the Modern Society, and
I am Declan, and I am the drummer of the Modern Society.
Fantastic. All right. We are well on our way. We have the roll call, but I know that there's more members of the Modern Society. How many members are in the group?
4 altogether. Yeah. Oh, Connor, do you want to go? Sorry.
I would say there's 5 if we include Keith.
Keith is basically our manager. probably the most important person in our band. But we've got Lucas, the lead singer. He can't be with us tonight. Like Connor said before, past his bedtime.
Now joining us, we did have some technical difficulties using the Zoom. Yes, it's an old man using technology, learning how to set up the sound. I know there's a little bit of an echo. I'll try to fix that in post. But if there is still an echo by the time you're listening to this, I'm so sorry. But at least you are getting to know the members of the Modern Society, the UK Modern Society. And I do have to make mention of the UK Modern Society, because I know there's another Modern Society, maybe in Atlanta, Georgia, but that's not the one that we're worried about right now. Now I have the members of the band, Connor Lohman and Declan Foles. Did I pronounce that properly?
Fowles, but yeah.
Foul. That's right. I like to pronounce the names properly. So, Connor Lohman, I'm going to start with you. You're the bassist. And every time I've seen a bassist in a band, they make the craziest faces. Bass face is what I call it. Tongue sticking out and, just the craziest faces just to try to make themselves known. Connor Lohman, is that one of the things that you do?
I wouldn't say so, but I think in terms of just like being a presence whenever we play live, I kind of like find it really hard to not just like sway, just like to the groove or whatever. Usually it's the drums because Declan puts like really, I could like some really nice beats, just like snappy that you just can't help but like tap your foot to. So that helps me as well, just like lock into the groove and make sure I'm not like dragging or leading when we are playing live and stuff. So I guess that, creates a presence.
No, and you're hitting the nail on the head. It's fantastic. Whenever I see the bassist, I know that it seems like they have a lot of personality, but yes, I know I have another member of the band, the backbeat himself, Mr. Declan Fowles. He's back there providing all the backbeat. And I know every kid that I knew growing up, every boy I knew growing up, used to beat on their desks with their pencils. Is that how you started drumming? Is that what gave you the initial start?
No, well, basically, my brother, he plays guitar, and I was always like, I just want to get into guitar, and my dad does as well. And the whole story behind it was we went into this like youth club thing where people were doing drum lessons and guitar lessons at the same time. And I went in there with my dad, and he was like, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to go play the guitar. And my dad was like, no, you're sitting down at the drums. So it was my dad's fault. I got into the drums, and the bloke handed me a sheet of music, drum music, and he was like, that's the hi-hat, that's the snare, that's the bass drum, play it. I was like, what? What am I supposed to do with this? And I sat there for a good hour just working on my own with this sheet of paper, and I probably got about 5 seconds into this drum beat, and then I just started hitting the drums as much as I could. And I got through it that way, and then I bought a little drum kit of myself, and it was a bass drum, a little crash cymbal, and one tom. And that's how I started, really, at my grandma's house. That was my drum kit.
Yeah, I'm not one, and I'm very jealous of people that can actually play music and find themselves in such a proficiency that they can go out and play live and even make music and create it like you have done. I did peruse your YouTube, and I know that you have some songs out there, but I mean, you're such all right. I'm 51 years old. You are much, much younger than I am, but still, your sound is so much older. It makes me feel like the music that I grew up with, the music that my mom was turning me on to. I was born in '69, so she had her formative years back in the '60s, and the music that she was giving me was, Bee Gees, Beatles, oh my goodness, David Bowie, even Queen. I grew up with, and some of the music that she grew up on as well, the 45s that she gave me. But the sound that you have, and even the look that you have, is very 60s. Who turned you on to that type of music? What is it that makes you have that feeling about you? And I'll say names. Connor Lohman, answer that question first if you can.
So I really agree with that, and I think it's just a case of that's just how we all got into it. Lucas is very much into his musical technicality. He's the one who sits down and goes, oh, I like the sound of this sus4 with an added 9 or something, and then he'll think of something like that. Jack's been massively influenced by Prince, Declan, through all of the noughts and the 90s and stuff like that, and even earlier stuff. I think just because now we're in this age of like the age of media and the age of like information, you can just listen to whatever song you want. So what that does is it helps us, because I was never into music until I was about 15, where just something just clicked, where I just was like, oh, I really like want to listen to stuff now. I had a passion for it and stuff like that. So then I just kind of started exploring as many facets as I could. Eventually settling down on people like Bowie, Led Zeppelin, Jack White, the Beatles, of course, just all sorts, because I never really had that push. Like, 'cause my dad was into music, but he never forced it upon me. He waited for me to like come upon it myself, which meant that when I stumbled upon it, I found like everything. So then you get to drag elements from like the 60s and the 70s, which have heavily influenced, say, me, Jack, and Declan, and then take it with like more modern artists and stuff, and like create this real blend of everything in between.
Yeah, Connor Lohman, you said that you were 15 when you started your appreciation for music, or really got into it. And looking at you, it seems like that must have been a year or two ago. I'm not even sure how old you are now.
No, I'm 19 now.
19.
So, yeah.
You've had an appreciation for music, and your parents are the ones that got you into that. Your dad, mostly?
So yeah, so I remember when I was little, like every Christmas, whenever we got people around, we'd have there was an old PlayStation 2 game called SingStar, and that was a that was like just the default Christmas game that we'd play. And then eventually kind of got to a point where, so my dad was in a band before he met my mother, and then my mum was never massive, not that she didn't like music, but she was never like, oh yeah, I love this one band so much, I'm gonna go see them live, kind of thing. And my dad always had his guitar or his piano or his like home setup kind of thing there. I just never touched it, and he never forced me to touch it or anything like that. So eventually when I hit 15, and I remember I was on a flight back, because we'd just been to Florida for Disneyland as like a big thing for us, and I was just like, you know what, I've watched all the films I wanted to watch, and I plugged in, I thought, AC/DC, I've heard them before, I've never really listened to them. Put on AC/DC, I was like, what is music? And then that trailed into literally everything under the sun.
Yeah, well, I mean, but was it Bon Scott or Brian Jones at the time?
I think it would have been Brian Jones. Can't remember the name of the album. It's the one with the it's black and white, the Kill Switch, I think it's called, something
Back
like that.
Black.
Yeah.
That's the one that had Back in Black on it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, that's
I
me
honestly,
in the back of the bus,
yeah.
1980. I think it was 1980. I'm sitting in the back of my school bus listening to that song, those songs off of that album. What an amazing album to start with.
Yeah.
This is you grew up completely in an electronic age. Have you heard of a record? An album? Have you
Vinyl
seen?
collection.
You do? Okay. I'm finding that a lot of kids are developing a love for that. And this is what, when I was a baby DJ in 1986 is when I started. And I was, well, even before that, I had a massive amount of records, and I enjoyed playing them, taking that disc, looking at the artwork, and just reading the liner notes while I'm listening to that record. You put the platter down, the arm on the needle on the record, and then you look at the liner notes and you read and you look at the pictures. It's a whole experience, and I'm finding that a lot of these kids today, listening to the electronic music, you don't have the advantage of looking at liner notes and getting more of an experience. Declan Fowles, you being the backbeat, the drummer, what's your experience? What's your first taste of who got you into that?
Music again was.
How old are you?
I'm 18, just turned 18 a couple of months ago. I've been playing drums for about 10 years now, probably 11, since I was about 9. I've always had this appreciation for punk music, punky, poppy, rocky music. I've been one of them Green Day massive influence, Blink-182, The Offspring, people like that. But obviously AC/DC, all of them, Guns N' Roses, everyone like that. Hugely influenced mine, and that was all off my dad, really. And whenever we go on road trips with the band, I'll have my music on, and then my dad will put his on, and it's like the same music every time. So I'm in his sort of age range of music, I think. But it's like you said, it's not like, I don't know if it's like, if people don't appreciate it as much anymore, but like music in a sense, because it is just all media now. It's all how you push yourself as a band, which is probably one of the hardest things that you can do in this day and age, in the 21st century. It's so hard to get yourself out there with so many people making music. You can have a full band, but then you can make something probably even better on just your computer in your bedroom at home. So in reality, it's such a hard thing to get yourself out there now, as music is in the music industry. So obviously it isn't the same, especially with like music developing in itself, because you see way less people listening to punky, rocky music than you did back then anyway. But you still have that group. That's why I think our music is, it's not obviously, I don't know who to compare us to, because you'll find, like, let's say Bad Thoughts, for an example. That was our first release, okay? I'd say that was more of like a rocky tune, bit of pop in there as well. But you'll find Liquid Love, our just released tune, is more funky, more groovy. And then our newest release, which is going to be coming out soon, is She's a Killer, and that's more poppy and vibey, more summer tuney. And I think that's our musical influences combined. Jack with his Prince, Lucas with his Rex Orange County, and Tom Misch, me with my Green Day, and Connor with his yeah, Connor with his Connor.
Well, Declan Fowles and Connor Lohman, that's one thing that you have advantage over a solo musician or a solo artist or maybe a dance producer that sits alone in his bedroom with his Fruity Loops or his, whatever music that he's putting together, where, yes, one person can take some vocals that are out there and remix them and put them together with some beats that he or she makes himself. But the advantage that you have is you have 4 or 5 different people that have different experiences that can give you no limits in your band. You don't have to limit yourself to the 2 or 3 songs that you've already put out there to the world. And that's another thing that I'm very jealous of, people who can take their experiences, put them down on paper. I'm guessing you don't use paper anymore. There must be an app for writing music now.
No. Paper is when you can write down something physically. It's the same reason I think the vinyl's coming back, because when you have that physical thing, it's so much nicer than just typing it out on your phone, just because you get that more it's more of an object now. You can visualize it, you can feel it. It's like, yeah, I'll play, if I come up with a bass line or something, I'll record it on my phone, but you learn it first. You kind of like hum it in your head first while you're on the way to school or at work, and then you get home and like, okay, try and figure it out. You figure it out, then you record it. But when you play it, that's when it's real, kind of thing.
Connor Lohman, you're turning me on to something brand new. I'm very. I think the paper industry is very appreciative that you said that, because I know that there's apps for writing music that'll automatically put your 4 and 4 or 5 and 4. I'm not even sure, because I don't write music. I don't read music. I know, Declan, it seemed like you were very surprised when you were playing the drums that you actually had to learn how to read music.
Yeah.
That amazes me, because I figure you're doing a backbeat. It's 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. But you had to learn some theory. Did you, at 9 years old, when you started playing drums? This is what I was getting. Did you take lessons? How long did you take lessons?
Yeah, so I took lessons with this group, and I took them for about a year, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I think that's with every instrument, you'll find like a mid ground where you'll think, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm going to give up, basically. And it was always me being too shy to say I don't want to give up. So I got like this personal tutor who come in, and his name was Liam, probably one of my biggest influences ever. And he was my drum tutor for a long time, a good 9 years. I've only just recently stopped having him, and I'd have him every single Tuesday for an hour, for how many years? And honest to God, having someone there, as boring as it might get, as boring as it might have gotten, it was so much help to have someone there teaching you the drums, obviously. But the amount of times that I'd say I just didn't want lessons, I didn't want to play the drums anymore, is unbelievable. I'm so glad I didn't give up. But the drums is very like, you just, it's so, I think, because with a guitar you can play a tune, you can play a song with a guitar, but you can't play a song in a sense, if you know what I mean. With the drums, you just play boots and cats and boots and cats. That's all you're playing. You don't, because if you pick up a guitar, you can play Wonderwall or something like that. I think it just gets to a point where you just get bored of the instrument that you're playing. But if you just stick with it and just push through it, then you will see a change, and obviously yourself getting better and an improvement as well. But I went through loads of stages where I just didn't want to play anymore.
Well, Declan Fowles, I'm noticing something that you're saying as you're saying it, is that you found that you had limitations with
Yeah.
being a drummer, where you could not come up with the melody, but as you got more proficient, you found that there was a reason, oh my goodness, you are an integral part of the unit. That
Yeah.
without the drummer, you would not have that backbeat. And the bass, a lot of people have, it seems like I have the two people that create the rhythm
Yeah.
of the band. Without you, there wouldn't be any swaying back and forth. You are the ones that make people go stomping their feet and swaying back and forth to your sounds. Now, Connor Lohman, you started playing at 15. Were you taking lessons as well?
I never took any lessons, and to a point, I never actually. So like me and Declan have quite like a contrast in like how we both got started in playing. Is like, which it's then also like shown in the contrast between us in how like our music taste. So I'm very stubborn, for want of a better word. And when I started hearing these like the songs, I was like, I want to play. I want to play it. So I got a guitar, got an amp. So so I started out with guitar for the first 3 years, and so it would have been a year ago, last week or the week before that, where I first started picking up bass. So before that, I was all trying to teach. I was teaching myself guitar, learning the odd piece of theory, but just like chord shapes that I could move along and like sevens and stuff. And yeah, but I was already influenced by. So when it started off with my phase going through like all rock, AC/DC, Metallica, then going a bit heavier, then coming back again, then starting to find some like grassroots stuff like Howlin' Wolf, and then there's an amazing American guy called Shaky Graves. I recommend you check him out. And then you go through the folk, and then you come back through to Jack White, which then the White Stripes, which links it back to like this old Detroit kind of style blues, as well as having this like rock heavier sound, as well as being this punky garage thing. Then you branch off into people like Bill Withers and stuff. And then as I started to branch off into more bass heavy or like more driven, funkier kind of songs where you tap your head instead of like shaking your head kind of thing, I asked if I could get a bass. So then I got a bass, started. I'd been playing, I got a bass for a week, and because I already had like the fingers from playing guitar for 3 years, I was playing with a pick, which is heathenous if you're a bass player to play with a pick. And I was doing further maths in school, and Lucas was saying how he was looking for a bass player for his band. I was like, oh, all right then. I play bass. A week into playing bass, I was like, oh yeah. So I sent him. So that night I went home, learnt. It's a song by Hysteria by Muse. I learned that, like the intro to it on with the pick, and he was like, oh yeah, you can play. Come down to a practice, and that's how it started.
Kind of a fake it till you make it. My goodness, but
yeah,
you were playing bass for 3 years. I'm sorry, you were playing guitar for 3 years. What kind of a guitar was it that you picked up?
So it was a Fender Strat kind of stuff.
Yeah, for those that are just listening to the audio portion, I encourage you to go to the YouTube page, Keys Dan YouTube, and you can actually see this video and see the good-looking boys of the modern society, the UK modern society. Now, what kind of you said it's a Fender?
So no, it's a Yamaha Pacifica, but it's the body style is Fender. And in all honesty, I really wish I could tell you more about which pickups and which tone and all that to do with it. I just know that I like the sound of it, and even if I didn't, it wasn't going to stop me from just noodling around, just like trying to figure out. I remember once I set out to learn every single scale. I think I learned the blues scale, and I just stopped there.
I'm glad that you said that, because some of the technical things that you've been talking about as you're explaining the guitar, like the 9s and the 7s, I understood some of those words. I have 3 guitars. I tried to learn some scales. I learned maybe a couple of blues chords, some power chords, but nothing to where I could even noodle, that I could even be proficient in. But they're sitting in my closet. I have to pick them up one day. And I think under my desk, I still have it. Yep, my Ibanez. So eventually I'll plug the guitars back in and learn how to play them. And maybe I could be like you one day, my fine friends from Modern Society, UK Modern Society. So Connor Lohman, I mean, and then you picked up bass, and this was just kismet. It wasn't by recommendation that you needed to pick up the bass. Why did you pick up the bass? Most of the time, fellas are saying, "Oh, let me play guitar," because that gets all the chicks, all the ladies come to the guitar player.
Well, like I said, being quite stubborn, I was hearing things that I wanted to play. I was hearing, so obviously for every kid of now age kind of thing, your first introduction to like the bass player, oh my God, look, is Flea. So you're hearing some Flea slapping kind of thing. And then as you start to branch off, you start to find some really quite, not, I want to say obscure, but that would be an insult to them. So like people like Jaco Pastorius, Thundercat, who's just hilarious. I was hearing them play stuff, and I was like, I want to play that. So like I got the guitar, or I got the bass, and then instead of coming home so I'd come home, do my homework, and then instead of going on the Xbox for 3 hours, I'd literally sit there and play bass or play guitar, and I'd just sit there and noodle. I think one of the best investments I ever made was in a loop pedal, because it meant that instead of having to go onto YouTube and finding a thing to go over, I'd put it on, I'd play some chords, I'd see which chords I wanted, which sounded nice or something, and then I'd noodle over it, or I'd put down a bass line and then I'd noodle over it, and it just kind of worked. It meshed itself together.
Oh, and music is getting more and more intricate. The more that technology comes around, it makes it so much more interesting, because you could take this technology. The people that invent the technology really don't even get to appreciate it as much as the next generation gets to pick up said technology and starts to really put it to good use. That looper you're talking about, I mean, I've been impressed. I've seen some musicians and I guess some comedy shows. Reggie Watts and Demetrius Martin, that comedian, when they go on those looping machines and start making they start accompanying themselves. And
Yeah.
yes, you could be a one-man band with that, but it impresses me so much. Now, Declan Fowles, bringing you back into the conversation, drums. Now, the first drum set you had was very simplistic, and how has that progressed since then? What was the first drum set once again?
It was a little bass drum on its own with a little tom and a little crash cymbal on the top, and that was the entire drum kit. And I used to sit in my nan's big armchair, my grandma's big armchair, and just play my drums, smash that all day, and she'd get annoyed at me. Then that progressed to a little kids kit, and that was just a bass drum, a snare, two toms, floor tom, crash cymbal, and that was it, just a crash cymbal and hi-hat. And I played that for so long, I ruined that to bits. Lucas has that now in his house. I was like, I'm going to throw this out, or do you want a drum kit, Lucas? Thinking he was going to be like, yeah, it's going to be a really good drum kit, and it's this rubbish kids kit. Basically tin cymbals. And I progressed to a Pearl Export kit with a snare that sounds amazing, the bass drum that sounds amazing, two toms and floor tom with crash, ride and hi-hat. And I've had that since I would have been about, let's say about 14 maybe, something like that, 14, 15. So that's what I used to practice for ages. And I didn't actually, it's amazing how much you can do with a drum kit, because you've got, you'd think, oh, you just hit the drums, that's it. But you've got like the rims of the drum kit. You've got everything to do with it. You can hit anything on a drum kit, even if that means you're going around to the front of the bass drum pedal and just hitting the bass drum on the front. Even if it's something like that, it's stupid. You can find, I can't remember the name, but there's some amazing drummers out there. A million times better than what I could probably ever be. But they use it's incredible the sounds that you can get off a drum kit. Travis Barker, the drummer of Blink-182, just released a video. Do you know Coffee by Bida Doobie, something like that? What's the song called where the lad raps over it? I'm not too sure what song it is, but he did a drum cover where he's using the snare drum and that's it. And he's using the bottom of the drumstick, he's using his elbow, he's using all sorts of his arms, of his body, the snare drum itself, and he makes this amazing drum beat just on the snare alone. And that is something that I would love to do, the fact that you can take things like your elbow, even probably your knees, stuff like that, that people think that's crazy. And you can make these rhythms, these tunes with just your drum kit. And that's why I bought an electric drum kit. An electric drum kit is so amazing. Obviously, it's not as good to play as an acoustic kit, the loudest kit's going. But the electric kit has so many sounds you can play with. And it's exactly the same as playing a acoustic kit in reality. Just you don't get the same feel, I guess. But there's settings on the electric kit like dogs and cats, and you can make all these different sounds. You can make the bass drum a guitar. So every time you hit the bass drum, it will become a guitar, and you can play the beats on the drums, and you can have your own little one-man band on just the drum kit itself. So it's amazing how technology can turn the drum kit into a band, if you want to say. But yeah, so I've been playing on an electric drum kit basically for a good 6 years now, on a Roland. I can't remember the model name, but it's an expensive one. But yeah, my dad got me that cheap.
You're turning me on to such new things, because a dummy like me just thinks that, and I've been to my local music shop and tried out their drum set, annoying the patrons and the clerks to no end, trying to make my own rhythm. And you are turning me on to, yes, you can get more rhythm sounds from the back, from the sides of the drum, from the metallic parts as opposed to the wooden parts or the fiberglass parts. And so, and you've also given me an idea that of the contrast between an acoustic set and a digital or an electric set. what are the advantage of either one?
I'd say the sound and annoying your neighbours is probably the biggest advantage. I always got noise complaints, so that was the biggest thing of me getting an electric kit. But no, I think there's so much more that you can do with an electric kit. Obviously, it's not going to sound as good in itself, because an acoustic kit is an acoustics kit. If you've got the Yamaha Recording Custom is probably the dream kit for me. It's about a $4,000 drum kit. That is probably one of the best drum kits that you can use. Okay, a Yamaha Recording Custom. It's never going to be as fun to play as that. But an electric kit, there's so much you can do with it. I think the sound you can get from recording as well. I guess you can set it to what you want, basically. I think that's probably one of the best things. So if you wanted a certain type of snare, you can get that type of snare. If you wanted a certain type of tom, you can get that type of tom. And there's drum kits today which are about 10 grand worth of electric drum kit with so many different what's it called, the sensitivity on them, where it's exactly the same as a real drum kit, which is amazing to me and blows my mind. There's drum kits out there which have been popping up into my Instagram feed of they've made them look like identical to real drum kits, acoustic drum kits, but they're electrical. And you're like, why don't you just buy a acoustic drum kit? But it is crazy to me how amazing some of the newer drum kits are. Drum kits that I probably won't ever be able to afford.
Now, Declan Fowles, you've also alluded to that it's amazing that you're giving it up to the Yamaha drum kit. The ones that I've seen that the famous people are playing, it's the Tama or it's the Pearl. Those are the ones that I've seen. But Yamaha, I had no idea that they were so good. And this is the acoustic set you're talking about, not the electronic set?
Yeah, the acoustic, yeah.
And that is the most amazing set.
That is probably, in I think it was the 80s, pretty much every single band was using the Yamaha Recording Custom because that was the drum kit to use. Nearly every band used the Recording Custom on their albums just because of the sound and the tone it had. It was called the Recording Custom because it just had this connection with the mic, if you know what I mean. It sounds stupid, ludicrous, but it is true. It went so well. It just it was magic how good this drum kit sounded in the recording setting. So yeah, supposedly
the bass drum is usually covered by the band's name. Where the Yamaha logo would be. It's covered with a custom symbol. Now, I noticed Connor Lohman's over there noodling on his Fender type guitar. I guess you said it was what type was it again?
Yamaha Pacifica.
Another Yamaha. All right. Yeah. The podcast brought to you by Yamaha. Please sponsor me. Please sponsor the Modern Society, the UK Modern Society. Do it, Yamaha. They play your instruments.
Yeah.
Now, Connor, you switched over to bass. What kind of bass did you get?
I don't know. It was so basically my dad.
Sure there somewhere.
Yeah, it's over there, but I can't quite read it. I think it's called a Westfield. Basically, both of the guitar, the bass, and the amp, I had to kind of figure out how to completely take it apart and put it back together because they'd been kept in a container that had some damp in. So I take them apart, derust the screws, fix all the insides of it, try and resolder some things back together. I probably should have just bought new ones. That's probably why I sound so bad.
Oh, that is exactly what's going to give you that special flavor, Connor Lohman, is you have this equipment that's been worn and you took the time. You're not only a musician, but you're also an electrician, a mechanical engineer, where you had to work on your own equipment. Well, and that's very thrifty. It saves money, and it also saves the environment. How about that? You throwing your equipment away.
Yeah. Well, the first if you look back at through the history of music, the first kind of entrance of fuzz and distortion into music was in the surf rock scene. I can't remember who it was, but what he did was he took a pencil and he stabbed the front of his speaker because he was that angry. He just stabbed the thing, which gave it this like bit of a fuzz sound to it. So whenever he played, and it kind of became this like iconic. And then it was about 20 years after that where the first fuzz pedal kind of came out.
Why does that sound like Del Shannon? I don't know why. It sounds like something that he might do. And I apologize. I know Del Shannon, he's probably passed away by now. So if any of the family or anybody that knows can let me know, who was it that stabbed their speaker and made that fuzzy sound. And then that sound got put into, many effects boxes. I think my cousin Timmy had a guitar, and he had a Pandora's box, and you press the button and there's that fuzzy sound that was made all those years ago. So capturing that sound once again was an important part of rock and roll. And it was probably quite by accident. In a fit of rage, the sound came about.
And it started, and then it just spread. But I wanted to say back to Declan's point, like I think something that the drums and the bass, and like to an extent, just all instruments. The more you learn about it, the more the less there is kind of thing to learn, and you need to explore yourself. And is an old saying that freedom stifles creativity. So if you can do anything, you don't need to come up with any new ways of like figuring something out. So with the drums, if you couldn't make with a beat, you can only really have the beat going, but then that's only to the naked eye. If you like start really going at it, you can figure out all these new different things where you can create a rhythm and then create a melody and create a song with a drum. And like I forget his name, he created, the guy who first started playing slap bass, he called it thumping and plucking. That was because they didn't have a drummer in the band, so he needed to thump to mimic a bass drum, and then he would pluck to mimic a snare. So he would thump and pluck in like a beat, as well as then fretting the note that should be played. So that when you have fewer options and you have not as many new avenues to go down, you start to create your own things, and that's where you get innovation.
So Connor, when you were kind of studying or looking through some of the bassists, and you said they don't generally use a pick, and back when they first started, I remember hearing that they did use a pick. And what you're talking about is in the 70s, like Lou Gramm and maybe Sly and the Family Stone started using that plucking technique, and it added a whole new dimension to the bass rhythm in the rhythm section. Tell me what you know about that.
So with the bass, like obviously it comes, so it's the electric bass, so it comes down from an upright, which is walked with the fingers, and that then when you got an electric bass, it was usually walked as well, where you'd kind of walk along the strings kind of thing, but usually with 1, then 2, then 3 if you were not necessarily more skilled. But if you could do it and do it like securely, then, and keeping tight with the drummer, that as long as you can keep in tight, then if you can stay tight with just one finger, that's brilliant. If you stay tight with 2, brilliant, whatever. It's just as long as you're hitting the same as the drummer with the walking. And then as you kind of progress from, and bass and bands become more universal in the same sense as now, where anyone can just create a bedroom beat in their MacBook or whatever. Anyone back then, it was a thing where anyone can just start a band. You just need a guitarist, a guitar, a drummer, and a bass kind of thing, and somebody to sing. So as the bass kind of became more universal, and eyes were generally on the guitarist, they were thinking, oh, how do you play bass? Oh, it's just a big guitar, you'd use a pick. So then that's when you kind of get bands like even down to Pet Shop Boys, where the bassist is very in line with the guitarist, very in line with just following and just playing root notes, and not very creative. Not to discount their talent or anything, but
Oh, you better not. The Pet Shop
Well,
Boys are the story of my life.
Yeah.
Their West End Girls was the unofficial class song. I went to Western High School in Davie, Florida, in the United States, and West End Girls sounded enough like Western Girls.
Yeah.
We use that as our unofficial class song. So yeah, the Pet Shop Boys. I like them. I like them a lot. Very
So-
danceable.
So then you get from then walking kind of like in more of the higher up you got in the band kind of thing. So like when you got into the Jimi Hendrix Experience, the bassist is still walking there. It's still quite a common technique. And then it was the bassist from Sly and the Family Stone, where when he didn't have a drummer, he would pluck and thump the bass instead of which is now called slap bass. But then that its time and place. You don't really want to be slapping. So that's what Flea was very kind of like made Flea so big, was people weren't used to seeing this slap bass. It's this like in this genre to this demographic kind of thing. So it kind of like took them by storm, even though it had already progressed through a lot of the musical community.
Right. It's a reggae thing, right? A slap bass.
No, it's a
funk.
It's a funk thing. So Sly and the Family Stone, the bassist from there, I think you might have to fact check me on that. He was the first one to start it all off. But yeah, if then slap bass, you wouldn't want to play slap bass over a really nice crisp drum beat, because if you come in and they start clashing, it's really difficult. You need to kind of like make them work together. So sometimes the bassist to work together needs to play less, or sometimes to work together the drummer needs to work less, and then you need to like start to realize how important empty space is. Like a note that you miss is just as important as a note that you hit.
Forgive my naivety. What is a slap seven? I've heard of that when I was listening to reggae bands down in the Florida Keys on the islands down there. Is a slap seven? Is that something? Maybe not. Anyway, while you look that up, Declan Fowles. I see he's trying to look that up there. But
slap seven.
The advantage of having the electronic drums is that you could put headphones on and you won't bother the neighbors. But there has to be more advantage to it, especially these newer drums that have the same response as an acoustic set. Tell me, I mean, which ones do you like to take on stage, or does it matter?
Definitely the acoustic. The acoustic overall obviously has the better sound because you're coming acoustically, not out of an amp. Because it would probably be like a guitar where you have to mic up the amp if you were going to do that. Doubt you'd put it through the PA. There are bands that do go on. I mean, we played with a band ages ago, and it was like it was like a cover band, but like a karaoke sort of band. They were just playing all these well-known songs, so everyone was singing along as well. And they come on with an electric kit, and it does not sound as good, to say the least. But no, as good as electric kits are, they will never beat the acoustic kit. The acoustic kit is classic. It is something so amazing, something that sounds so amazing in comparison. But electric kits have an advantage where you can make them different sounds. You can choose a sound because you've also got, with these new ones, you've got the rim as well of the drum that you can choose a sound for. So let's say you've got the normal bass, the normal like what's the word? The like default sounds for each drum. But then you could put like a cowbell on the rim of the tom, or even a fish sound on the rim of the floor tom or something. It's crazy what you can do. Hundreds and hundreds of sounds that you can have on my drum kit alone, and that's an older version. These new ones you can put your own sounds on, so you can have your own samples on, and you can find these DJs using electric kits, and you can even take parts of it off and just use, let's say, 4 toms in like a line here. Let's say you want to have your DJ decks here and you've got these toms here that you can just tap and use as pads. So it's crazy what you can use. You don't have to use the drum kit as a drum kit in a sense. You can just buy the parts for it with the actual box itself, and you can use them things as the different components, the different toms, the different hi-hats if you want, as pads, drum pads for different sounds that you might want to use in your DJing or whatever you want to use it for. So there are different things that you can use the electric kit for, not necessarily just playing drums in a way. It's just how you use it, I guess. But you do see DJ using these drum kits as to help them advantage them. So yeah, they're cool things, these electric drum kits.
Excellent, Fowles. If you can't notice by the amazement on my face, is that you've explored so much in your craft, in your young life. You're 18 years old, and you already know so much about this thing you call drums. You've come from a three-piece set, loosely called a three-piece set, a little drum, a little bass, a little tom-tom, a little crash. It reminds me of one of these things that I would pick up in the local big box store, my first drum set, and a little kid would play. And that's how and I'm so glad that you had, I guess, who was it that bought you the drum set?
It was my dad. Yeah.
Yeah, because, growing up, I always found that you buy drum kits for the kids of the people that you do not like. No, let them deal with it. I don't like them that much. I'm going to buy his kid a drum set, and I'm so glad that your dad had the wherewithal to let you explore this, because a lot of parents would say it's reading, it's writing, it's arithmetic, it's maths, it's science, and that's it. That's all you're going to do, and they won't let them explore their creative side. And I'm glad that your dad did that. Now, Connor, did you have a lot of the same, did you have people that were pushing you along, or what was your experience with your family and your music?
With music, I never had anyone push me along. Like, obviously, like now with the band and stuff, my mum and dad and stepfather have all been really supportive of me and really, helped me get to practice and go get to the shows and everything and be supportive and go there and tell people and all that. But in terms of playing the instruments, no, I was never forced into it, because nobody else really had the same like want to get into it. So like, I'm the oldest of 5 kids, so all of my siblings below me, they were too young. They weren't really into anything at that point when I started getting into it. My mum wasn't into it. My dad was not there, and he'd never forced me into music anyway. He'd always shown me, but I never really took an interest to it. I mean, one thing I like really respect and I'm very grateful for is that my mum always saw a need for an artistic let out. So for me, for a long time, that was just drawing and just art in general. And then I stumbled across this thing called music, where now I can actually just make it whenever. I can get home, and instead of doing all my homework, all this, and then going to play sports or going to paint or read or whatever, I could paint. I could create something which was like more in line with what I was thinking, because you can only draw so much, you can only express so much through each individual medium. And I feel like, just in terms of what you can express, music is just like nothing comes close to it. You can paint a picture with the words, you can then have this guitar melody go counteracting with this drum with the bass in like a certain fashion. And then once you start to get into all that and you start to delve into that, certain bands that you listened to before that you'd kind of like just dismissed, and you come back to them, and then you start to really appreciate, especially after you spend like however long learning your instrument, and then you hear them and you think, I've practiced this for 3 years and they're still that much better than me. Geez, you start to really appreciate just like people like Led Zeppelin, where if you listen to just stuff like Kashmir, I know that's like one that everyone goes to, but just it was so unheard of to have this entire or to the mainstream public, it was unheard of to have the way the drums and the guitar, they're out of sync. And then the bassist, John Paul Jones, is probably one of the most talented and underrated people in the world, who he kind of just like kept it all afloat, where, because when you listen to how they mixed it, usually when you mix them, you have the drums and then the bass and then the guitar and the vocals would be panned in different areas. The way a lot of them, it's mixed, is they'll have the drums leaned left and the guitar leaned right, so that you'll have two separate experiences going on, and it would be the bass line which would be supporting it, kind of thing. So just the more you got into it, the more I got into it, the more it fascinated me and the more I got obsessed with it. So I kind of became the driving force for myself.
No, it sounds like you had such a discovery when you got into the bass, when you got into the guitar. You found that you could create at any given time. And you were talking about the famous bass players, and I just Googled famous bass players, and the string of famous bass players that came across the top was Jaco Pastorius, Victor Wooten, and Flea, Geddy Lee, John Entwistle, and John Paul Jones. And then I also looked up the famous drummers, and the top 6, at least the ones that came up, were John Bonham, Buddy Rich, Neil Peart, Keith Moon, Ringo Starr,
Yeah.
and
He
Ginger
wasn't a
Baker.
very good drummer.
He wasn't the best drummer in the Beatles.
Yeah.
I think it's because of his notoriety that he was with a little band, maybe a small, a minutely known band called the Beatles.
He's the most famous bass player in the world.
What's that?
He's the most famous bass player in the world.
What, Ringo Starr?
No, it'd be Paul McCartney.
Oh, yes. Well, and then, it's funny that they didn't have Sting put in there, because I always liked the way he played bass. And I know in a few of the songs, he I don't know whether he used it in the actual recording, but even in every breath you take, he had a stand-up bass that he was playing in
Yeah.
that video. So I don't know if he was perpetrating or he actually played a stand-up bass in the studio. But my goodness, speaking of in the studio, you've already been in the studio. The songs that you have on your YouTube, and you have about 2 originals and then 1 cover, and I do appreciate the cover. But the songs that are out there, who wrote those songs and who put those together? Is it an individual achievement, or is it a band effort, a group effort?
Declan?
Bless you.
I'm Kevin. No, Bad Thoughts was more. No, we'll start with Liquid Love. Liquid Love's the older song. Basically, the band started around, it would have been, how long ago? Around 2015 sort of time. Would it have been? Yeah, I think so. Quite a while ago. Really, really long ago, now that we think about it.
It feels like a long time. It's only
and it started off.
Time for a band.
In 2018.
But yeah. So basically what happened was I met Lucas, and Lucas was in his own little band called the Poland Station. Some little name there, very different name. So basically, we were in that band. So I joined that band as a drummer because their drummer left. Met Lucas through that, and the singer was a bit control freaky. So he's a bit like, I want to do this, I want to sing all the time. I didn't let Lucas sing. Lucas obviously with the better voice.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, so this was that plan. So me and Lucas come to a decision where we wanted to do this like school talent show thing called Performing Arts. And basically everyone else in the band didn't want to do it except for me and Lucas. So me and Lucas played Gold Dust by, I'm not too sure who it was by, but basically we played that song, slowed it down, turned it into our own little thing, piano and drums and vocals, and you'd never think that would work. Piano, voice and vocals and drums, but it blew the crowd away, and that's what got us started basically. Then we went to this recording studio, me and my dad met Simon from The Verve, Simon Jones. He he saw the video of me and Lucas playing this, just a video of us playing live on a stage in a big hall, school hall filled with people, playing this cover. And he was like, I'll record you, because we wanted to record this song. And we were like, oh, okay. Going there thinking that we'd go and record this cover. And Simon was like, yeah, go on, we can do our own thing. So basically, he set me and Lucas on a task to write some songs. And this is where we come out with Liquid Love. And it was mostly Lucas, well, not all Lucas. And I put the drums to it. And we got this recording down. So that one was more Lucas. But obviously, I think with a song, it doesn't all depend on vocals, because Lucas can say that he wrote a song when, or someone can say that they wrote a song when they have written the guitar, they've written the bass, they've written whatever, every instrument on that, because a song is the drums, the guitar, the bass, the vocals, and whatever else is on it. It's every instrument. So I don't feel like you can say you've written a song until you've written every single instrument in that song. So obviously, it was a combined effort to write Liquid Love. But if you're talking about vocals, then it was just Lucas. This is me getting at Lucas.
About just vocals. Like I said before in the beginning of this podcast, is that there's 5 of you, or 4 or 5 of you, depending on how you want to count the 5th member, the 5th Modern Society member, if you will. You mentioned that there was someone that was an integral part, but not officially a member. But you have 5 different talents that are bringing their own flavors, and one person might bring in an idea, a riff, a vocal sample, something that they've come up with to the other 3 or 4 members, and then you'll all add a little bit, and then it becomes a song that's not just one person's. It belongs to the whole band, all of Modern Society, all of UK Modern Society.
That's how we do it now. That's where literally the amount of times where Declan will, I'll just be like, Declan, put something down. It'll just like, Lucas has gone to get a coffee, Jack will be at the toilet, Luke and Declan will.
Jack's not going to be happy about that one.
And Declan will put a beat down, and then like I'll think of just like, just fiddle around, noodle around on the bass for a bit, and then until I find something that can like hold the groove. You can't hold no groove if you ain't got no pockets. And then Jack will come in and he'll put down some guitar on it, and then Lucas will come in and put down some keys on it, and then we'll just build this whole just a groove, and that's how we'll warm up before we go through the set list, where we'll just groove it through for about 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes, just the same song, which will have some changes, and then you'll just hear it grow naturally. And the amount of am I allowed to swear?
I guess I'm not going to.
The amount of stuff that we should have recorded, just like us noodling around, like the amount of ideas that have just been missed, and you're never going to see those again, is just like insane. Where like that we should have used it, and like one of the songs, we haven't decided what we're going to call it. We think call something Baby or something like that. Intro. Which, in my opinion, is like one of the best ones we've made so far. And it literally just started out from us all just grooving.
Yeah.
It started out from
we've come together so well. It's like we've sort of glued together in a way. As soon as Connor joined, that was it. That was everything, basically, because what happened was it was me and Lucas to start with, and then Jack come in a while later, and then Connor come in about a year ago, like he said. But it's like, I think we took like a couple months away because of something that went on. I don't know what, I think it was exams or school it was. Stopped practicing, and we come back, and straight away we're just back at it. We've got this chemistry between us, and I think it is maybe because of us all being so talented. And no, that's not like, oh, I'm so good.
Because like, we're amazing.
No, it is though. It is, because Jack is amazing on guitar. Lucas, I've got to give him credit. He is come so far on piano. I've come so far on drums, and you've come so far on bass. I think it's the band environment
Yeah.
that gives you that, because it's even learning other instruments as well in a band. I've learned to play the guitar in a band, and learned even to play a little bit of piano in a band, and it's that chemistry we have together as a band is amazing in reality, because we take our own little aspects, um, our own little influences, and put them into these little jams, or little noodle around, or whatever you want to call it. These little things that we do, um, and, yeah, like Connor said, we should have recorded them all, because our intro to every single one of our gigs is this baby song, and it's probably one of our strongest songs, because it gets everyone going. It's such a build up, and then it comes. It is crazy. You need to come see us live.
Favorite of everyone in the band, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, that sounds like a great writing style, that you all to get together and put your own little pieces in there, and it comes out, like magic. It comes out like something that was built by all of you. And yes, I think someone should be hitting the record button a whole lot more often. This way, you can remember those little riffs and record those, and possibly put them in as, maybe if they don't become full songs, if they don't get birthed out as full children, then at least there'll be little intermissions on your album. And do people even make albums anymore? It's all
Yeah.
singles. It seems like you throw it out on Spotify or Apple as single after single. Do you compile those singles into an album anymore?
Well, it all depends on who you're looking at. Like in the music scene, there's like bands like King. Don't know if you've heard of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. So they released 5 albums last year. Something stupid. They just keep pumping them out one after the other, and they're all conceptual, and they're all fully formed albums. So I think it really depends on where you're looking. So if you're looking at the top of the charts, you're never going to see, I don't think anymore, a full album kind of thing get released and like 1, 2, 3 of their songs go up to the top, unless you're Beyonce and you've just released Lemon, or
Right.
You've already got that entire fan base and that entire standing to go off of. But if you start to look, that's one of the things about this double-edged sword of the age of information, is not only is it easier for everyone to make music, but it's easier because there's much more music getting out there. That means that it's harder to be heard. But at the same time, because there's so many people on it, there's just so many new niches that get filled that just would never have been found ever. Like 60 years ago, you'd never have been able to find genres so different, from like things you can go from Slayer to bedroom pop to I think Shiny was one thing called by Andrew Huang, who were a YouTuber, and you just get this massive eclectic. Because to think about it, at one point, the Beatles were considered the heaviest band to date. When they released Helter Skelter, that was the heaviest song. When they released it as in opposition for a song called Inagata Davida. This is like the heaviest. It was considered the heaviest song. And like looking back now, I'm like, well, that just seems like light rock in comparison to, I don't know, Cannibal Corpse or Hereditary or whoever you want to listen to.
I remember that, the Helter Skelter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was pretty heavy for the time, I'm sure.
Yeah. With all the ability to create all these new genres, you get these massive. Apart from pop, you get all these different factions which are still releasing full albums, which you can go and check out, because it's all. I think that's always going to be the way for the long term. Short term, yeah, release a single, be Rebecca Black and release Friday, but all of these actual bands and actual people with a following that people like genuinely enjoy, where the music speaks to them. Like sports teams, a really big one in the UK now. They're going to release an album, and it's a few songs from them have made it to the top of the charts.
Did you just say Rebecca Black?
Yeah. That, that,
Wonderful.
that
I
song.
play that song almost every Friday night.
Oh God. Oh God.
Hey, I enjoyed it. And then she's still an influencer, man. She's still big on YouTube. I don't watch a lot of her videos, but I know she's still out there doing her thing, man. That was her introduction to the world, was getting her mom and dad to buy her some studio time and making this song, this weird, incredible song.
Power to let everyone do what they want to do as long as it doesn't infringe on anyone.
Yeah, I think with that, I think as you progress with music as well, you start to appreciate other music. I wouldn't have thought how many years ago I'd look at classical music now and be like, I appreciate that music and appreciate everyone what they do. And it's even, yeah, I'll say like, what is it? It's trap music, trappy music. I think that's the only style of music which I don't quite get. I think that's the only type. But you'll find I got into funky music, more like hip hop as well. And you'll, like Connor was saying before, there's no limit that you can learn. That's the thing with instruments. There's always someone else to learn. With the drums, especially with guitar as well, it's so different when you can play a rock beat to then going over to hip hop, and you're like, that is completely different. It's like a complete different way to play the drums entirely. It is crazy, and how much there is that I don't know about my drums, and I've been playing for 11 years. And that's probably the same with Connor, same with loads of professional artists out there. The amount that you can find, the amount that you can do on an instrument is crazy in comparison to what you see. Because you see a guitar and you see 6 strings, that's what you play. But you see people hitting the guitar, playing them as drums. And that's probably just the littlest things. I don't know anything about guitar. Don't hate on me, Connor.
I'm sitting there thinking.
Well, no, Declan Fowles, you're talking about mixing genres and having no limits. I remember they may not have been the first ones, but they certainly made it big when Run DMC and Aerosmith got together and made Walk This Way. It blew our minds. Here we are DJing. I have to have that record. I went straight to the record store and bought that album. I overplayed that album every time I had a chance to go to do a house party. Back in, I guess in the 80s, I was doing mostly house parties. And then in 86, I did my first wedding. Yay. And I became a professional DJ. So, but having an album like that had no limits and was pushing the realms of sound that much. And then here I'm watching your videos and you're taking it back, way back. But while you're taking the visuals back, you still have all the advantage of technology and the new sounds that you can create and overdub and mask, and it just it's just amazing. You can create a sound that's reminiscent of the 60s, but it's totally 2010s, 2020s, for sure.
I've got talking about like being able to take older sounds and then work on them kind of thing is like the people who make it, they don't get to enjoy it. It's the next generation that gets to enjoy it. So in this age of information, I get to have a playlist where I have Wu-Tang Clan, Tyler the Creator, Led Zeppelin, Sir, not Elton John, Duke Ellington, Thundercat, Carlos Santana, all just because I like each of these individual songs kind of thing. I like them as a whole, and you get to blend and experience so many more styles that way. And you get to see, like, SoundCloud has been so what's next in music is like first on SoundCloud now kind of thing, where you get to listen to these really weird genres. Like there was a genre called noise music, and like more specifically this thing called Black MIDI, and I think I heard it on like Radio 1 once, and this song got, I want to say big, but not very big over here. Like if you were into the deep underground music scene, you'd be like, oh yeah, no, that was kind of big-ish there. Like every now and then somebody you'd mention it and somebody go, oh no, yeah, I know them. And it was like the weirdest song I'd ever heard. And I was like, I love this. Why? I have no idea why I love it, but I do. And I want to use this in everything now. I want to be able to incorporate that with all of my other experiences and influences and put it all together to create this sound that is me, the sound that you don't even need to put down into a permanent form. You just get to have it. Like with the jams, there's something sad about losing the pre-practice notes that we'd made, but there's something so much, you gain so much more in just letting it be in the moment. So now whenever we go out and play Baby live or intro live, it's kind of just changes and develops, because there was never a set written down bass line to it. There was never a set written down drum line. There was never a set. The only thing that was set was when we sang, and I don't even know the lyrics to it. I make it up on the spot, and like usually I kind of like make up the same like kind of lyrics like for the same thing. But on one of our last gigs in Liverpool, Lucas couldn't sing that song because he wanted to like rest his throat for other stuff because he had a cold. So then I got up on stage. I was like, shit, what am I going to sing? What am I going to say? So then I had to kind of like make up a melody on the spot, and make up lyrics on the spot and that just means that instead of it being this song, it becomes almost like an organism where it grows and evolves. And there's so much more to that in the live scene than there is to a written down, recorded album. And I think that's where they really hit the nail on the head with older recording styles, where they would record it played live. The amount of Beatles songs where there's a fuck up in it and they just keep playing it, you'll hear somebody in the background, shit, kind of thing. Like if you listen really quietly, and just that way of, yeah, some parts are going to go wrong. Nobody's really going to notice. And this hyper polish and this hyper sheen on everything nowadays, it's brilliant for commercial use, but it just sucks the lifeblood out of it.
Yeah.
Connor Lohman, you are going through something that I appreciate so much from going to a live show, is that the people get an experience. They're not getting the same music that they hear on the album. Yes, that's what brought them to the show. But once you go to a show, you are giving them an experience. It's not, let's play exactly note for note what we wrote and put on the record. No. At some points, all right, Lucas had to go and get a drink of water. What's Connor Lohman going to do? Well, he's going to come up with this bass line and then just start humming a few bars, whatever feeling comes, and it becomes an experience between you and the audience. And that just, so much flavor. And you mentioned SoundCloud. I wanted to go into that. I find that SoundCloud is not only a place where people have, finished songs that are very polished, but it's also a place where people are putting out their ideas. And this is where you can experience those ideas, such as that noise that you were talking about. Just, you can go there and get, that sounds pretty good. I'm going to incorporate that into my tune. Of course, if it's something that's fully formed, you do want to get permission from that artist. You were talking about some of the, getting some of the sounds from way back. Here in the 80s, we did a whole lot of sampling, which wasn't completely legal. Grabbing somebody's sound from the 60s and 70s and then turning it into a completely new song, especially the hip hop artists of the time were taking, straight up stealing music, and
Vanilla Ice was the epitome of that. It's completely different bass line.
It's completely different. You hear the extra dun 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 dun. It's different. It's different. Now, funny, I got to work with Vanilla Ice down in Fort Lauderdale. He's living down in South Florida, and I was working at a country bar. I was working for a country radio station, and we did a remote at a country bar, and Vanilla Ice was singing "Ice Ice Baby" in country version. So he has taken the juice out of that song, metal version He did a country version, the original version. Yeah, he has juiced it for all that it's worth, and it's made him a millionaire. So that's hey, whatever you can do to make a living on your music. But I digress, and I know that what you were saying was bringing thoughts and memories into my head. Now, since you did look it up, and I know that my listeners are very thoughtful and very precise, and they will write to me if I don't ask you, what is a slap 7?
I googled that and it just came up with nothing. I'm not. Wait, no. Do you mean like is it a dominant 7? Like the stuff that comes up with is Wikipedia on how to slap, and then a YouTube video called Funky Slap P Bass E Dominant 7.
Perfect. You've done well, Connor Lohman. You got 100% on that one. You've proven that I'm a dummy. I have no idea how to play an instrument whatsoever.
So like in common in bass is to go where you play the octave.
I think you need to plug that thing in.
You cannot hear it very well.
I hear some boink, 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 boink.
I can't plug it in. So maybe a slap 7 would be so that is a minor 7.
Okay.
That's in reference to this note here. I'm gonna make a fool of myself and like mislabel these completely. So that's a minor 7, and that's using a dominant 7 chord. So if you were to maybe do a slap 7, it would be because like the usual is this, where you hit the same note, just one's an octave higher. You can't hear me, I know. And then I'm just trying to make sure I know it in my head. So yeah, so that might be a slap 7 by just lowering the octave up by a step. So yeah.
Connor Lohman is obviously a master of his craft. He knows how to play the
I am so far from it.
Funk your party up, I'll tell you. Declan Fowles, man, I've had such a good time talking to you guys. I know I've taken a lot of your time. It's getting really late, and where are you guys? Cheshire, England. What part of
Cheshire?
Cheshire?
So it's next to Wales. So I'm living in Wales, in North Wales. Declan, you're in Chester?
Yeah, Chester.
Chester.
He's in Wales. He's in Chester. You have nothing to do with Cheshire. That has to be with a man.
Chester in the county of Cheshire.
Ah, fantastic. Oh well, all right. And here I am, talking to you from the old U.S. of A. and in Conway, Arkansas, in the south of Arkansas. But I don't have the twang that I should have, because I'm from Miami, Florida, so I'm transplanted. So, it's good to be. It's good to talk to you. I know that I've kept you up a little bit late, and so late that the other members of the band couldn't hang, not even a little bit. Modern Society, the UK Modern Society. As we're winding this thing down, and people are figuring out who you are, at least the rhythm section of the band, and you do have some skills even at this young age. You've studied your craft, you've perfected your craft, you're very thoughtful about how to play things. You can you, Connor Lohman, can pick or pluck or beat on the guitar and make different sounds. And then Declan Fowles also not just beating on the skin, what will be known as the skin portion of the drum, but also the sides, the metal part, the wooden part, the fiberglass, and the different sounds with the electronic drums as opposed to the acoustic. You've studied all this. It's amazing to me. So, but let the people have an idea of how to get a hold of you. And I do want to go through the videos that you have. There's 3 that are out there on your Modern Society YouTube. The Bad Thoughts is more of a dark, kind of a very artistic type of video, and then as opposed to Liquid Love, which is more of a poppy, very lighthearted, very very bright video, and then the funny video, the cover of Here Comes the Sun. Just you guys on Zoom, just like we're on, doing your version of the Beatles' Here Comes the Sun. Take me through those 3 videos real briefly, if you can, on how they came to be.
I'm doing Liquid Love. You have to do Bad Thoughts.
Okay, okay. I'll do bad thoughts now. Then. Bad thoughts. Basically, as we were doing it, we were like recording the song itself. We were all sat in the recording studio. Me, Connor, Jack, Lucas, Keith, the manager, the fifth member, and Simon. And we're all sat in the recording studio, and we were just listening to the song, Simon mixing it. And it's the thing that popped into our head was what's it called? What's his name? What the film's called? Oh, this is gonna bug me now. But you know, like Dexter sort of style, something just proper dark. We were thinking proper dark. We need to get this like, because it's such a dark. It sounded so dark and massive, big song with massive guitar parts, big like with the guitar, honestly. And so we were thinking,
drums.
yeah, and drums and bass, so powerful in a way. And we were just thinking it's got to be something about death row, something like that. So death penalty, sort of so dark that it will get people's attention and they'll see it and they'll be like, that is crazy. That is something that we've never seen before, sort of thing. So we come up with this idea of Lucas. He's done something wrong, and he's on death row, and this is his time now. His time's up. Bad Thoughts is about mental state in obviously the modern age. So you see him in there with a straitjacket on, that obviously portraying him being mentally deluded, if you want to say, which he is in real life. No, I hope he's not watching this.
Oh, he's watching.
No, yeah, no. Yeah, that was the idea behind that was just to hit the audience with this dark video that would make a statement, basically. This is us, this is the modern society, we are here, basically. And we wanted this video to just take everyone by storm. That's why we decided to release Bad Thoughts first, mostly just because of the video. Obviously, it's a huge song, but the video is going to be something that people look at and remember. And that's what we wanted. That's our name. That was our name, basically. And we wanted people to just, yeah, I feel like I'm just going on.
Oh, it's very film noir. It gives you that little hint of yesteryear when films they meant something. The videos meant something. They become a little movie. When MTV first came out, and yes, I remember when MTV first came out, the video had to be a part of the song. Now you had these artists that weren't used to making little movies, but the ones that made it the biggest back in the 80s were the ones that could come up with these videos and these little stories that came that helped you to think even further into the song and made it that much clearer to you what that song is about. And I tell you, if you want to know a little bit more about what they were thinking, and man, that video is very powerful. At the end, it gets so dark that you almost can't see it, but you do get the idea of what the song is about. Now, tell me about Liquid Love. Okay, Connor, Declan Fowles, you got to get the gloomy one, the one that was so powerful but so gloomy, and then Connor Lohman, you get the happy one, the big bright one.
It was considerably harder to make that one because we were in it for the entirety of the video. So we went down to Brighton, which is a city down in South England. Stayed there for 3 days, shot it. We rented a little house, shot all the filming and everything for it, and just some of the shots. I think that it was really good test for how much we were committed to the band, where we had to, on a beach in public, all get out, all these teens who don't look the most masculine already. Somebody shouts out, heckles at you, all wearing matching tighty-whitey shorts, matching tighty-whitey shirts. You're all acting out. There's a camera there. Everyone's paying attention to you, and yeah, you're gonna get heckled. yeah, none of them are going to see the video, and you just have to go, yeah, I don't care at this point. I'm doing what I enjoy doing. This is going to be cool at the end of it. What have you got to show for laughing, kind of thing? And it kind of it was a really good experience in that sense, making it. And I think that comes across in just the video as a whole, as it is a take it easy song. It's a very take it easy music video where the concept was that there's a girl and we're all trying to woo her over, kind of thing.
Yeah, there is a girl. Who's the girl?
I don't know.
The lads who did it for us are people that I used to know, lived around my area, and his name was Graham Roberts. I can't remember the girl's name. The actress's name was Drew something.
Drew Gregory.
Yeah, is it? But basically, Graham, he worked on that Han Solo's, that Star Wars film, and he went on to work with, because he used to work with Disney, and then he dropped off to work with what is it? Is it Paramount? Yeah, it's Paramount, and he worked as executive producer on, was it Fast and Furious, the new one that's just come out? Is it 9? But he worked on that.
25.
Yeah, it's 20.
They're in space now, aren't they?
But basically, yeah, so we met them, and they got all the clothes for us, and they were like, yeah, we really want to shoot this video. Got this actress in, Drew, and that's where we left off with them, and they had big recording equipment, way bigger than we had with Bad Thoughts as well. Bad Thoughts was 2 lads who come in for the day with a little handheld camera and a little what they call the mounts that move the camera so it steadies it, and that was it. That was a little camera on its own, compared to this big high production camera, massive shoulder camera on Liquid Love. And Liquid Love is such an amazing video, but Bad Thoughts is so cinematic for the difference in camera size. So obviously, I'm saying Liquid Love
with a phone can produce a pretty good video if they have the right eye and the right editing software. You can do it. It amazes me that this tool, and I did not have this when I was a young man. I wish I would have. Of course, it probably would have gotten me in trouble, but I think it's a very useful tool. And oh my goodness, I guess we can come to current events, okay? As we're winding down. We can come to what's going on now. Were you playing in gigs up till when the world ended in 2020? I mean, pretty much. Were you playing gigs out in the world?
We had a lineup of tons. It was for a Bad Thoughts release. So up to the 31st of January.
My birthday.
Yeah, Bad Thoughts release. We had about, I think it was about 8 or 9 gigs, something like that. And then we had our last gig in Liverpool, and that was the 27th, if I'm right. Something like that. It was a late one, very late one. That shouldn't have been in the Bad Thoughts lineup, but that was the latest gig that we had, and that was a couple weeks, maybe a month before, obviously, the world ended. But since then, we haven't had a chance to practice or anything since then. So.
I mean, except for the one video that you did a cover of "Here Comes the Sun."
Yeah,
and fantastic. What a way to pass the time away. And that's something that creators have been doing, is finding new ways to create, new ways to get themselves out there. And you say that it's hard for an independent artist. And I'm guessing you consider yourselves independent. You do have some representation, but you would still be mostly putting the stuff out your own. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So independent in the sense of there's no label, there's nothing. We're not signed to anyone. There's no contracts or anything. It's just it's us kind of like trying to push this all out of pocket, out of shows that we play, out of all of it, kind of thing.
Yeah, okay, but I don't know. Do you have to be pushed by a label? What is the advantage and disadvantage? Have you been approached by anyone? Sign here, kid, on the dotted line. We're gonna make you a star.
I I know we've been approached by a few like people in their basement wanting to start up their own sort of record company, but nothing like that. I think with music today, you do need a lot of things. You need obviously a PR company that'll push you out. You also need a radio, what they called, someone that'll take your song and they'll publish it to 40 radio stations, something like that, and they will push it to every single one for you. Radio play, I'm not too sure what they're called, but that it's all about money now, really. If you have the money, then you can get all these things to obviously help benefit you as a band to get your name out there. That was one of the things that we do have a PR company with us, but it's more like Bandwagon Press. That's who they are, and the woman who works there used to PR for what's her name? Murder on the Dance Floor, whatever that song is.
On the dance floor.
Who's that by?
Oh my goodness! Yeah, why
This
am
is going to be in my head now. Who's that by?
I don't know.
The one from Australia, isn't it?
I think so. What's her
Regardless.
It's
Yeah.
oh my goodness, Deezer. Sophie Ellis.
Sophie Ellis Baxter. That's it. Yeah. But lucky enough, Simon had contacts with this Beth Parnell. So we went to go meet this Beth, and she really loves us. And she was bugging us for ages to release a song, just get it out there when you're ready. So we did the video for Bad Thoughts, came up with this list of how we'd release some: Bad Thoughts, Liquid Love, and then this She's a Killer, a last of the three. So yeah, she's pushed us to all these different, and it's crazy because with a PR company, you don't physically see what they do, but then you'll type your name into Google or something, The Modern Society, and you'll see all these different articles on you written about you, and you'll be like, that's what she does. And she does get your name out there more than you think, I think. So it's crazy what she does when it's not physically in front of you. Like, you don't see it as if you'd see someone put. I don't know how to explain it, really.
No,
I think
it's hard as a creator. It's hard to be everything. Back when I first started DJing, it was just 2 turntables and a microphone. That's all I had to be. That's all I had to have. And then I slowly had to be the MC. And then I slowly had to be I set up my own speakers, set up my own lights, set up, make a poster and make the flyers, make sure that I make the events and canvas the area with the flyers so that people would come to my show. And you have to be more things now if you want to be an independent artist. And I'm glad that you have some kind of a team. But, and another way to get yourself out there is to get on podcasts. I hope you find more podcasts to get yourself out little by little, and people will find out more about you. At least the people that are listening to this podcast will know about the Modern Society. And I know, have you branded yourself the UK Modern Society? Has that become the branding?
I mean, we discovered when we changed our name to the Modern Society, we did some research first to make sure that we weren't stealing anybody's name, or there wasn't a band out there that was currently used. And we did a fair bit of digging, in all fairness, and the only one that we could find was a disbanded band from the 1990s 1980s or something, from the UK, who or from somewhere, who no longer were together. They were no longer releasing music. So we're like, well, we wanted it before we saw that they had the name, and they also aren't using it anymore. So what's the harm?
Yeah, I did notice that there's one in Atlanta. That's what I was saying. And I do want the people to be able to find your band. And I hope that, either you branded the Modern Society UK or the Modern Society. This way it becomes you, and you won't get lost in the shuffle. I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, our socials are Modern Society UK on Instagram, I think. Yeah. I think the Facebook's the same as well. That's at the Modern Society UK. The Twitter is UK the Modern Society. So yeah, I guess on socials we have branded ourselves UK. But I think that's just because the Modern Society was taken. But we don't say that. We just say Modern UK.
Oh, I mean, still, you can always introduce yourself as the Modern Society, but, definitely looking you up in your socials and stuff. Now, do you have a website that people can find you on?
We did make a little website, but that was for a Glastonbury competition, but that was like a Wix, which is like a build your own website over here. But we haven't actually got an official website yet.
Well, I encourage you to go buy themodernsociety.com right now. It's like $10. That would equate what, £8 maybe?
Yeah, something like that,
yeah. How's Brexit going?
Oh.
Nobody cares about it anymore.
Good. Well, I mean, we have a president with crazy blonde hair. Yeah, you have a prime minister with
crazy. Yeah.
we
like cousins.
Hey, I mean, but coming to now to current events, what do you think about what's going on in the world? Anything?
Ooh, that it's just a very unlucky combination of everything coming together. So, if you're going to design, if you're going to walk into a boardroom full of people and go, right, this is how we're going to end the world. We've probably done about 4 of the 10 checklists so far. Make sure everyone's locked up so that they're, going to be agitated. Make sure so this also collapses the economy. This, that. Make sure Yellowstone's about to erupt. Make sure that you've got. What was the recent one? China and India just got into a skirmish where like 63 people died. Make sure that happens. Have a reality TV star as your president. Just everything.
And then the most the recent the murder on video of a black man by a white police officer. I mean, and that is a murder heard round the world. And I know that they're protesting even in the UK.
Yeah.
I mean,
in Chester.
Yeah,
even in Chester.
Amazing.
It's
in 2019,
emotional.
In 2019, I remember I was so looking forward to 2020, the year of clarity. Things are going to happen. Wow, we're going to be looking at this with fresh eyes, and things are going to be great. People are going to love each other, and it's all going to come clear. 2020 vision, and then boom. Is your economy opening back up? Are you getting back out? Are gigs on the horizon? Is stuff happening?
Things over here are like, our gigs are getting cancelled last second just in case they open up, sort of thing. The biggest thing over here is pub bars, basically. They're saying they can open up again because our rule over here is 2 meter rule. It's only us and Spain with the 2 meters. I think it's over there. It's 1.5 in it meter rule over there or something.
1.5.
And everywhere else and everywhere else is 1 meter rule. So if they lower it down to a 1 meter rule, all the bars should be able to open again because a table length across from each other is 1 meter. So in reality, they'll be able to open up again, and that's what they're all arguing. I know it's starting to come back now. All the clothes shops are opening up. So yeah, I think we're trying to get back into a swing of things. I think what they're worried about is it happened in South Korea. They let everyone out again. They basically said it's fine, and then one person went round a load of clubs, didn't he, and give it to loads of people. So you're like, oh no.
Oh, no. And then I hear of Sweden that just left everything open. They said, all the sick people and the old people stay home, and the rest of us are going to go off and keep the economy going. And that, has that worked well? Maybe, maybe not. The byproduct is that the herd immunity, people are still dying. I'm fully aware that there's a disease out there that's not that has no cure just yet. But I'm not fearful. I mean, I'm strong enough. You're strong. You're young. Be
I think
mindful.
that we've locked up like the vast majority of the world's economy on a disease that is killing the average rate of people that the average age for people that die with coronavirus. Like, I'm not discounting the deaths. Very sad. Very heart goes out to the families of victims. But to completely shut down the entire economy and like the amount of people that are going to die due to poverty now, due to not having work or not being able to pay their bills, now they have to move out, and lives that are going to be destroyed by this over a virus where it really wasn't as bad as we first thought it was, and in a state where the average age of death by coronavirus is higher than the average lifespan anyway.
Mhm.
So
Well,
it would,
who I feel
yeah.
for is you, the creators, the people that the musicians, the actors, the people that are out there entertaining the world. Your economy has gone to zero.
Yeah.
You know, people are struggling, and here, you know, just a mere months ago, a musician, an actor was one of the essential people in society, for sure. You know, the people need to be entertained. The people need an outlet, and you provide that outlet. And here, you know, the whole economy shuts down, and they forget about you. I mean, how are you supposed to survive? Making Zoom videos? I mean,
Yeah.
cut it, you know?
Especially with like upcoming this summer was meant to be a bit of a kick, a bit of a kickoff for the next few years, because things were going to start, hopefully not, but probably start slowing down a little bit with us going to university and stuff in different places, kind of thing. So it was meant to be a bit of a not a goodbye, but a right. Let's get one really good one in. Let's make sure that we are now in the best position to be able to keep doing this from different parts of the UK, kind of thing. And this is kind of just said,
Absolutely.
yeah,
You know, because you know, yes, once you get that gel in, you have this band that's fully formed. It's gelling. You are ready to go. You're putting stuff out there already, and to have this to where it's all crumbling. It's all starting to fall apart. Are you able to at least get together somewhat and practice, I guess?
we're looking to, but not. We haven't so far.
Our the place that we practice is the recording studio, and they've obviously closed down because of this. They can't let bands in. Basically, what happens is they've got all these different practice rooms, about 7 or 8 practice rooms that loads of these bands go into. So I think they're looking to reopen though for just with social distancing. So I think hopefully we should be able to go practice soon. But yeah, so it's looking okay. I think bars will open. We've still got a gig that's still on right now. I think it's 27th, 28th of July, or June or something like that. Yeah. I'm not too sure, but we've got a gig there, and they're saying basically it's like a beer garden sort of thing, just a garden with a stage, and they're saying it holds 800 people, but if they lower it down to 400 with 1 meter distancing, then they can open it up basically. So it's all down to that.
No, we're playing there. People.
You don't know everything, do you, Connor?
No.
He's the bassist, so
I didn't get the memo. There's 2 chats, one with them lot and then one with them lot.
Well, Connor Lohman, Declan Fowles, I don't want to end this on a downer. I know that things are looking bleak right now, but we're going to get through this. I mean, they got through the Spanish flu back in 1918, and that's what I'm likening this to. It's very similar. It's just the earth resetting itself. I don't know that we should have closed the entire world down. Probably should not have, but I think people being overcautious. Now, should we have? Probably not. I don't know. But I'm glad that things are looking up. And I do hope that July, that the event goes forth for you.
Same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you get back in the recording studio and you keep on doing your thing. But you have alluded to that you are going to university. You have a backup plan. I'm sure your moms and dads are very happy to hear that you're going to university. Connor Lohman, what do you want to be when you grow up? I mean, besides a musician, what are you thinking about studying?
Well, I've already got my placement at Southampton for aerospace and aeronautical engineering, so that's going to be.
He's the smart one.
Declan Fowles, what are you studying?
I mean, basically, no, at the moment I'm working at at like an events place where basically I just go around on segways all day with people, go around on quad bikes and stuff like that, and shoot archery, rifles and high ropes and stuff. But yeah, this is my But yeah, stop bullying me, Connor. I'm gonna be a drummer.
I'm just thinking, give yourself like a dead fancy name and
Yeah.
manager, superior, junior.
I just ride segways all day.
It may be subjective, but I think Declan Fowles wins. He's got the more fun job.
Fun job, exactly.
Connor Lohman, go to school, save the world. Go put some people into space. We're very excited here in the United States. We finally, after almost, 20 years, we sent 2 men into space. Bob and Doug are up there, thanks to SpaceX and Elon Musk, his team sent 2 into space from American soil. We're very excited about that. So you'll be sending
fuel capsules.
Yeah, you'll be sending them from UK soil one of these days. I'm excited. And I'm so glad to know you. The two out of 4, 2 out of 5 of the
important. Probably 8 out of 10.
No, you out of the band.
Yeah. So, like, on an importance scale, it's like the 8 out of 10 is here.
Yeah, that's the rhythm section. Hey, we got the rhythm section back there. There they are.
Is that a Home Alone reference?
Well, you get to harass the other 3, and tell them they were sleeping on the job. They were supposed to be doing some promotion on this American podcast, the What Makes You Famous podcast. And hopefully you're more famous now, and your fame will continue to grow, because that's how you keep this music thing going. Is you become more famous and
they acted.
Yeah, I mean, generally musicians and artists, they don't do it for the money, but money's what keeps the world going around. You have to make a living, so hopefully you can make a living doing this crazy thing you call music. So I mean, hopefully, is that the goal?
Yeah, 100%, to just be able to live. And like the only reason I would like to make money through music is so that I get to spend my time making music instead of a job.
Absolutely. Well, I usually finish these things off with last words for the people. This could be words to live by, something that you've heard growing up through your whole life. And I don't want this to be the last time that I talk to the Modern Society, the UK Modern Society. I want this to be one of many, one in a series of many, where I get to talk to not only you two, but also the sleepy people too, the other members of the band, and they'll come on the show and give their perspective. But I'm going to start with Connor Lohman. You'll give the last words for the people, and then Declan Fowles, you'll give your last words for the people. So it could be something that you heard or something that just pops into your head right now. Connor Lohman, last words for the people.
Freedom stifles creativity. If you want to, like, if you really want to delve into something, you think, if you ever tell yourself, I've learned everything in that, I can guarantee you haven't. If you can manage to find and like create a niche, find a little thing, just turn that little spark into a flame where it could have just been a small idea kind of thing, because you only had that creativity because there was a need for it. There wasn't the freedom to just do it. So if you're ever feeling like you've mastered something, just go back to it and humble yourself and look at what some people just can just absolutely pull out of thin air, like Rob Scallon when he plays slap guitar, like on a 6-string. He's just phenomenal. Just also, if anyone knows Jack White, get him to follow me on Instagram.
All right, Declan Fowles, last words for people.
I didn't want to go all cringy, but I have to now. Connor's gone for it. I just want to say, if you're thinking about picking up an instrument or anything like that, you're 90% of a chance you're gonna get into a rut, and you won't want to play it anymore. You'll think you're not improving. You think you're not going to get better. Just keep at it. Just keep going. It's going to get boring. It's going to get tiring. Even if it means that you lower it down to only like half an hour every 2 days, something like that. Just keep going. Keep sticking with it, because you will find that improvement, and it will just click. One day you'll pick up the guitar, you'll play the drums, and you'll find that you'll be able to play stuff. Or even if you can't play something one day, I always found that I'd try and play something one day, I wouldn't be able to play it, and then the next day I'd come back to it and I'd be able to play it. And it's weird how it works, but it does. So take your time as well, but don't just give up, because you will soon regret it. Because I am so glad that I was pushed to stick with it. And I think that's the best thing that I did, because being able to play the drums as well as I can, even if it's not the best, it's still something that I can say I can do, and I can do well. So just stick with it, with anything that it is, and you will get better, you will improve, no matter how down it might bring you. Those are my inspirational words.
Well, there you have it, party people. Connor and Declan of the Modern Society, the UK Modern Society. I want to make that distinction. So when you look them up as the UK Modern Society or the Modern Society UK, and you'll find those boys. You'll find them. So I had 2 out of 4. Hopefully I get the rest of the band to show up. But it was so good to chit chat with those young men out there in the UK and find out more about what makes them tick. And they're very talented. I encourage you to check them out. Look them up on their YouTube and find out more about those videos that I was talking about. The Bad Thoughts video and the Liquid Love video. And of course, their cover version, their lockdown version of Here Comes the Sun. That was pretty fun. I'm sure the Beatles would be proud. Yes, indeed. I know I'm very happy that I got a chance to talk to them, and I look forward to hearing more from them in the near future and the distant future. This will hopefully be the first of many little interviews that I get to have with them here on the What Makes You Famous podcast. All right, switching over. If you would like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.